Call the meeting back to order as everybody's coming in. Mr. Williams is gone, so I don't. Dr. Mickelson. Well, I think we'll go ahead and get started, and I've asked the McEachran Student Council members, not all, they told me, but some of the members, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our student council leads our Pledge of Allegiance each morning when we do the pledge. One of them are assigned each day of the month. There's 33 kids in all, so they're used to doing this on the microphone.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we ask for adoption of the agenda, I would like to offer a moment of silence for the school in Florida that just underwent the shootings. So. Okay, thank you very much. As you know, this is Black History Month, and I attended assembly at Topeka High School, and a young man there made a very profound statement that I want to share with, and I've just been thinking about this the whole time, whereas he said, Black history is American history. And I just, that struck a chord with me. So I will now take a motion for adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the agenda as presented.
Any discussion? Ready to vote? We're now ready for school highlights. Dr. Anderson is going to approach the podium.
All right, we have several school highlights, and I think Ms. Kruger, you're going to be joining me to start off our school highlights with our students who are Living the Dream winners, and then we will go from there. At the beginning of every board meeting, this is my favorite time of the board meeting. Well, all the board meeting is exciting. The first 20 minutes or so, we just celebrate people and the students and staff and families that make our school great. With that celebration, we'll start off with Living the Dream, turn it over to Mrs. Kruger, and then we do ask when we're done with all the awards, if you can stay for 5 minutes because we want to get photos to get up on our webpage. Ms. Kruger.
Okay, so I've been trying to think about the best way to do this because there are so many of you that did such an excellent job in the Living the Dream Awards, and we want to make sure that you each get to come up and be recognized. So I think we're going to do it by category. So if you were a winner in the art category, would you please come line up right in front of this wall here? Okay, so we love kids who can speak in public, so we're going to give you guys a chance to be able to speak in public tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand you each the microphone, and I'll probably start down there and work our way back this way. Is that okay? Okay. And we'll have you say your name, what school you go to, what grade you're in, and then we'll present you with your awards, and Dr. Anderson will come shake your hand, and we'll then bring up the next category, and then we'll bring all of you back up for pictures with the board, okay?
All right, so you go ahead and start.
Hi, I am Meredith Ordinal. I am from Highland Park and I am a senior.
My name's Amaya Thurman. I'm in 7th grade and I go to French Middle School.
My name is Evan Huntley and I go to Randolph Elementary. My name is Hera Del Castillo and I go to Jardine Elementary and I'm in 4th grade. My name is Devin Rushman. I go to French Middle School and I'm in the 6th grade.
My name is Leona O'Connor. I go to Topeka High and I'm in 10th grade.
My name is Pupil and I go to Casino.
Board members, did you have questions for some of our students?
Any questions?
So the board members might ask you one or two questions about art, and then we're going to go to our very next group. So, board members,
I'll ask we always ask students what they plan to do after they graduate from high school. So we'll start there. If you want to go down the row and you can let us know.
I plan to go to college, get an art major, and yeah.
I plan to go to college and probably get a degree in like electronics or an engineer or something like that. I plan to go to college and get a degree from nursing.
You know what you're going to do in high school?
Hopefully I get to go to college for something fun.
Well, I'm a senior, so it's coming up. I still don't know what university, but I'm going to be studying accounting.
So again, let's give them another applause. Congratulations. And we'll be getting another group photo with you with the board. And then now we have the second group, Ms. Kruger as well?
Yep, we got
All right.
essay.
And if you all, I know the room is so full, but if you kind of maneuver off to one side, if you want to just kind of come on this side. And this year we tripled the number of student awardees. So we have an awful lot of students here, which is a fantastic opportunity to be able to highlight all of our students. You want to go to the next group, or you want me to?
Nope, I think we're ready for essay.
All right, for the essays, if you won an award for an essay, please come forward. Oh my goodness. All right, and as you say your name and what grade you are in school, and if there's anything else that you want to add, like what college you're going to, we'll allow you to do that. And as you do that, then I will hand you your certificate, shake your hand, and then we'll go on to the next group. Okay? You ready?
Hello, my name is Orlando Rodriguez, and I attend Highland Park. I'm a senior, and I plan to go to Allen right now.
I'm Chloe Hickson, and I go to Topeka High, and I'm a junior, and I plan to go to K-State to become a large animal vet.
My name is Rachel Weber. I go to McCarter and I'm in 2nd grade. My name is Mason Chard. I go to Jardine Elementary and I'm in 2nd grade.
job. All right, if you can move off to the side, and we'll get one more group. This is a lot of students. Wow. Poetry students, if you won an award for the poetry contest, please come forward at this time. All right, and I'll give you the microphone and shake your hand.
I'm Jasmine Richardson. I'm a junior at Topeka High. After high school, I plan to go to Washburn University and major in something that helps people. My name's Emma Ludlam. I go to Robinson Middle School. I'm in 6th grade, and I plan to go to college, become a robotics engineer, and work at either JPL or SpaceX. Wow.
My name is Zoe Turner. I'm an 8th grader at Robinson Middle School. I plan to finish high school, go into some college, or major in biology, then go to med school, I guess.
You did an awesome job. All right, and so the students that won poetry and our students that also won our essay, board members, did you have a question for either one of those groups? You guys got off the hook, and that was just me zipping on through. Did you have a question that you'd like to ask either one of those groups? And then we're going to pull everybody in. Oh, we have more awards, and we're going to go to our next awards. Are there any other questions?
Any other questions? No, we're good.
All right, with that, we have a large group. Should we take the picture? Well, I guess we still have two more groups of awards. All right, we're going to ask you guys to squeeze on into the crowd, and then we're going to do our next set of awards, and at the very end, board members, I guess you'll line up, and we'll kind of bring everybody back on up. Let's give them all another applause. And hang around for another 3 minutes.
Okay, our next school highlight that we're going to do is to recognize Officer Darren Campbell. And I know we have someone from the Boy Scouts in the room, so not to put you on the spot, Aaron, but if you would like to come up as well, we would appreciate that. And
Principal Hoffman is here as well.
Yes.
Principal Hoffman, would you like to come up and say something about Officer Campbell?
And I also think Sergeant Ekus is back there somewhere, which is Officer Campbell's supervisor.
Hoffman, would you like to say a couple of words about Officer Campbell and share why he is here today?
Officer Campbell, he's here because he's just a fabulous staff member to have a part of French Middle School. That's one reason. 2, he's an outstanding employee of the Topeka Police Department and is an SRO in our school. And he also oversees a program with the TPD called the Explorers Program, where he trains young teens in law enforcement, and he was recognized by the Boy Scouts of America for his work that he's done over the many years with the Explorer Unit, who often then recruits. You've had up to 10 cadets, is that right? Who've actually moved on up?
We have 18 right now.
But how many have gone into law enforcement then?
Probably like 50.
Oh, okay, I stand corrected. This is why he is so awesome. Anyway, he's a great person to have on staff. He provides us with, it's just a great resource for kids. And if you walk the halls at French Middle School and you ask kids to talk about Officer Campbell, you would hear nothing but positive comments. And we truly, truly appreciate all of his efforts at our school.
Yeah, she took a lot of the information. That's good though. So just a quick connection. Boy Scouts of America has several different programs other than the traditional one we are famous for, the guys that go camping. One of those is this exploring program. And its basic job is to connect high school students with careers and give them hands-on mentoring type experiences. The Topeka Police Department has been doing an Explorer program for, I'm going to guess here, I looked it up a couple days ago, but I don't remember right off, but it's something like 60 years. And so when Officer Campbell says they probably have 50 police officers out in the field somewhere in the United States, he's probably underselling that just a little bit. I was told that there are currently 15 police officers at the Topeka Department who came through the program right there. So it's also a good recruiting tool for them. But well, the award that we gave Officer Campbell is the William H. Spurgeon Award, and this is the highest award that we as a Boy Scout Council can bestow upon somebody who's involved in the Exploring program. So a great honor to be able to have somebody with his caliber to actually give the award to and to be nominated for. I'll read one quick sentence out of his nomination form and then I'll be quiet. So they said this: Darren has always engaged himself in helping to enrich the lives of not only those in the post, which is a group of explorers, but to all the youth in our community. He has found a unique ability to balance professional mentoring and approachability to help youth feel comfortable in seeking his guidance and confident in applying it. So I think that kind of sums up some of the other things that were said about him in this award, and we're grateful for the service you do for the Explorer Post. Thank you.
Sure. Officer Campbell's my man here, seriously. When he shows up to work, he's got the uncanny ability to connect with kids, even the most difficult ones, and that's the truth. This guy is a true asset to the public schools, our community. I don't know what it is about this guy, but kids definitely do love him. And secondly, I think we should bring up his wife and his lovely daughter. Oh, I'm serious, who has supported him through all the years of police work, all the different hours, the shift work, time has been gone. Come on up, Mrs. Campbell, both of y'all.
With that, we want to give you the certificate. You've already gotten one award already from the Boy Scouts, but also from recognition from the school district. It's presented to you for your continued service and exceptionalism. We thank you for all of your service.
Thank you so much.
And we ask you to hang around for about 5 minutes because we will end up calling you back up for a photo. Okay? So we have one more award to give.
And just one more thing to add, Officer Campbell and his group of explorers just got back from a national competition last weekend.
You want to update us?
Yeah.
So the reason I couldn't get the award at the Boy Scouts of America banquet, I was traveling to Gatlinburg, Tennessee for a national competition with 12 of our young men and women, many of which are from the USD 501 schools. We traveled to Gatlinburg and competed very well. We received 2 first-place overall trophies in some competitions we were involved with there. There were probably 80 teams that were there, so that was huge for us to go and to be able to build up the kids and show them that what they're learning here is truly good information and giving them a positive view of law enforcement and maybe a possible career that they want to be involved with. So we were very proud of them. I wanted to get a couple of them here tonight. It was a last-minute deal, so I couldn't get them here. But again, many USD 501 students that represent that program for us. So very nice.
All right, and now for the next very large award. This is extremely heavy. So McEachran staff, every month we have a trophy that goes from school to school based on who's the highest attendance. This isn't your first time getting the trophy, am I right? Just got it last month, so we picked it up from McEachran only, drum roll, to give it back to McEachran with a whopping 95% perfect attendance. So I'm going to give Mr. Williams, Principal Williams, the microphone for him or our student to talk a little bit about attendance, and then keep up the good work.
Yeah, that's pretty good. When I took this back last month, when we received it, with an announcement that morning, I just said, hey, we got the trophy for the highest percentage of being at school, and I just said, let's keep it at McEachran for the rest of the year. So I couldn't believe it when we did this next month. So we've had a lot of sickness at our school this past month, but I brought the student council. They had a meeting here today at our school, and I, believe it or not, I've got my yellow shirt on underneath this blue shirt. But they had their meeting today, and they know how important it is to be at meetings and be at school to learn, so that they can go to college and do whatever they want to do. But even beyond that, they know how important it is in our jobs down the road. They have a job right now, but their job down the road, when I look for people, I'm looking for people that are there so that we don't have subs all the time. So they're going to tell you how many days they've missed of school this year. I just said, let's just share how many days of school we missed and our names and what grade you're in.
My name is Lucy. I'm in 2nd grade, and I missed 3 days.
I'm Abby Smith, and I'm in 5th grade, and I've missed 5-ish days.
Hello, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've missed 1 day. I'm in Mr. Eddie's 3rd grade class. Hi, I'm Daytona. Mr. Lake class, 3rd grade, and I missed 3 days of school. Hi, my name is Cassidy. I am in 3rd grade, and I probably missed 5-ish days of school.
Hi, my name is Aubrey Kirsten. I am in Miss Bruning's 4th grade class, and I missed a whole week of school because I was sick.
Hi, my name is Elijah Young, and I'm in Miss Mitchell's 5th grade class, and I missed no days of school.
So, I have to cook breakfast for her the last day of school. She holds on to this, and not just her, but all the students on their last day of school. I cook breakfast for them while they get to watch the talent show the last half a day of school. So, anyway, thank you for having us here, and thank you for the award. Appreciate it.
So you guys stay right here. We're going to start our photo with this group.
Disposition of business by consent.
Mr. President, I move the board approve the items of business by consent as presented and authorize the board president or superintendent to sign the special project and purchasing contracts for and behalf of the board.
We have a second motion. Do we have a discussion? Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask that we, if we could, and if it would be considered a friendly amendment with the maker of the motion, that we would separate item 10.1 personnel, as I typically always do every time if my spouse is at all mentioned in the personnel report. I like to recuse myself, even though I have to state every legal opinion says that there is no conflict when you're voting on something as a bargaining unit issue, as this is, as a personnel report would be. But I'd still like to do that just to avoid the appearance.
So we have a motion for an amendment.
If we can consider it a
friendly amendment, yes.
or I can offer a substitute.
Oh, it's friendly amendment. It's fine.
Okay. So, any other discussion at this point? Okay, so we're ready to vote.
Mr. President, for clarification, this is actually the consent agenda minus 10.1.
I'm going to raise my hand. I've lost everything. Including my voice.
votes are in, motion carries.
Okay, so we're ready for a motion for personnel report 10.1.
Move the board approve personnel report 10.1 on the consent agenda.
Any discussion? Okay, ready to vote again.
Vote is open. All votes are in, motion carries.
Okay. So moving right along, we'll go to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. At this time, as we prepare to begin our report, we're going to start with health and well-being and then go directly into our budget calendar. We do want to acknowledge, however, as part of our superintendent's report, that the personnel report that you just approved included the confirmation of our new principal for TCALC. If Dr. Morrell could please stand, we welcome you and we congratulate you, sir, on the new position at TCALC. We do want you to know that Dr. Morrell, in addition to having his doctoral degree, he has been an assistant superintendent, he has been an administrator overseeing career technical education, and he has been a past teacher at in the area of career technical education, and he continues to be and has been in the past adjunct faculty at multiple universities, and we are excited to have you on our team.
Thank you, glad to be here.
With that, as we turn straight into our health and well-being, and Dr. Morrell will be here at the end of the meeting to personally connect with each of the board members. As we proceed on to our health and well-being section, this is really split into two areas. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Wallace, who will begin with addressing parts of our sex education curriculum and giving you an update in that regard. And then we will remind you of our mental health symposium that we will be having at the end of this month.
Thank you. As part of our human sexuality standards that we adopted a couple of years ago, we have now, as of last board meeting, had a memorandum of understanding with Let's Talk Inc. And Vanessa Sandburn is here to tell us a little bit about that program. And I think maybe she started today at Hope Street.
That's true. Can I go up here? Yeah. Excuse me. I'm going to go home and make that picture smaller so that this doesn't happen again. So thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here tonight talking with you. I spent a little bit of time at Hope Street Academy today working with your students and look forward to meeting with all of the freshman classes over the course of the next few months. I really appreciate the opportunity, and yeah, again, we had a really good start. Part of our work is really helping to ensure that students have access to lots of information, but also opportunities for really important critical thought so that they can be good decision makers in their lives. And so, yeah, our curriculum and activities that we do focus on helping students with all of those important decisions.
You do have in front of you a letter that went to principals and to parents outlining some of the things and topics that she addresses. And wanted to share, you also did an internship at Highland Park High School, right?
I did, yes. It's very good to be back. When I was getting a master's degree in social work at the University of Kansas, I had the opportunity to work at Highland Park High School for a year with the freshman class. And during that time, I think I had 7 students on my caseload who were expecting with unintended pregnancies. And so at that time, I worked with the health teachers to implement
some programming to help ensure that students had access to good information about decision-making and contraceptive access and all of those things. And so it is really great to be back, and I'm hopeful, attending a meeting at the Topeka Community Foundation recently, they shared some data about health outcomes for Shawnee County, and one of the measurements that is concerning in this county is that 9% of births are to teen mothers in Shawnee County, which is out of whack with the rest of the state. And so I do think that the decisions that you've made to focus on more robust, comprehensive sexuality education are going to positively impact those indicators in a way that ensures better success for students district-wide.
We're going to open this up for board members to ask questions. To give you an overview and to remind you of where we are, our human sexuality curriculum is fairly new in that this is the first year in which we're really rolling out under the new policy some of this work. With that work, rather than having each teacher teaching portions of the more sensitive topics, we are partnering with Let's Talk to enable them to ensure there's consistency in what's shared. There's someone who is well seasoned and experienced in the kind of information as well as the comprehensive human sexuality information, which is really what your letter addresses, because this is what went to parents. Additionally, our new approach is to ensure that every freshman who comes in and takes the health class will then be taking the human sexuality courses, which includes the Let's Talk piece. So that's one way to ensure young people that are entering in their freshman year receive this when they first begin in our schools. With that reminder of that overall view, I'm going to turn it over to the board members to ask any questions that you'd like to ask.
Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, welcome back.
Thank you.
Sandburn. So, one of the fun things about her that we should all note is she spent a lot of time sitting behind a dais like this for the Lawrence Public Schools as a longtime school board member and school board president.
Yes, 8.5 years actually, and I also had the honor
And you still want to come to this. So.
But most interestingly, the honor and the pleasure of serving on the KSB nominating committee the year that you were selected as president-elect. So that was quite an honor, and I appreciate all of your leadership.
Thank you, and I will have that $20 for you as soon as it ends. So, just questions quick question that I've got. So first of all, I want to say how enthusiastic I am about this, how good I think this is. I'm very pleased. I know that both Drs. Morrison and Dr. McCarthy and Ms. Kirk and some of our members on the board who have significant experience in healthcare and behavioral things have been leading on these issues, and I want to thank them for their leadership. I am curious, I guess, how exactly are the courses structured? So what all would you cover like in Unit 1 versus Unit 2, and how deeply are they woven in with the other things that we typically teach that are interrelated and other kind of health and natural science courses?
Yeah, that's a good question. And one of the big challenges with curriculum like sex education is that oftentimes there isn't a ton of time built into the schedule. So the lessons that
Because we don't test it.
Right, we don't test it. As a board member in Lawrence Public Schools, this was an issue that I was really interested in impacting, and it's a challenge because, everyone has so many requirements and responsibilities, and lots of things are focused on, and this sometimes gets lost. And then you have, often health teachers, PE teachers that go that route may not feel completely comfortable covering this content area because it's one of those areas that you have to be kind of a weirdo to want to talk about, right? Luckily, that's something that I'm willing to do. But it is interesting to me, it's not a whole class, right? So we have 2 90-minute sessions with freshmen. We've been using this model in the Lawrence Public Schools, both at their high schools and then in Tonganoxie, and we're also helping out with some programming at the Bishop Seabury Academy. So this is the 4th district that we're helping with as part of Let's Talk. I have previously worked with other organizations offering sex education in high schools prior to that. But yeah, it's a matter of really trying to get good information in a small amount of time, and we do that through some lecture-based format, but not a lot, and then a lot of interactive activities and ways to, we often use some scenarios in order to pose some questions and then have students apply a decision-making model to that scenario in order to, basically put on advice columnist or a therapist's hat and decide what needs to change about the situation in order for it to be healthy or in order for the participants involved to make better choices. And so, yeah, it tends to be really interactive. And I think you have the list there, or
I do, yes.
of all of the general things we cover. So, I talk quickly, and that's one of the strategies that we use to get through it all.
Well, I think that's excellent. As I look at the list, I mean, many of these, unfortunately, in our world today are
Necessary.
Necessary, and we're having kind of an awakening right now about. Right now, it's pretty much focused on what is professionalism. How do we have an environment where everyone is empowered to participate? But I think we all know that starts at this age. You start to kind of understand that and think about people as people at this age. So.
Yeah, it's about contemplating not only the rights we have as individuals to not be abused, to have body autonomy, to make decisions for ourselves, but also our responsibility as a partner to honor those things for the other person. And so it's really about contemplating both your rights and your responsibilities in relationships and understanding. I appreciate that you used the word enthusiastic when you were talking about this adoption, and that's one thing that we really strive to encourage students to understand, that you can have consent, but when it comes to issues of sexuality and relationships, that's not good enough. We want you to enthusiastically consent and understand the distinction between those things in order for everyone to, feel comfortable and to recognize, readiness.
Well, I just want to thank you and I look forward to your work, and thank you to the administration and to our leaders on the board who have really kind of led us along this path, because I think it's one of those critically under-addressed topics.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Dr. Mickelson. Thank you for coming tonight.
Of course.
A couple questions. So is 3 hours sufficient? It seems insufficient to me for this topic.
And if I can add to that, to share what else happens in addition to this partner. The other partner is YWCA that we look forward to partnering with. We're really talking about advocacy, particularly for women's rights and sexuality from that end. So really, this will be one of multiple partners. The other piece that we do want to highlight, Mrs. Wallace just wants to share briefly, here are the national standards that you adopted, so then these standards also will still be taught. Let's Talk is a partner that is helping us teach some of the sensitive topics, but all of these topics under the national standards are being taught. And right now, we are using an online curriculum piece that we're assessing over this year, because it's our first year using it. It was created specifically for us to align to the national standards. And so while they're teaching those pieces, we really want to go more in depth with having agency partners really connecting in and dialing in what we're doing. Do you want to share the national standards as a reminder just briefly?
A few of the other things that we're teaching in our health classes are the positive and negative effects of social media and technology. And after this, we're going to talk about a little bit of curriculum that we're going to purchase that might help us address that. It also includes alcohol, tobacco, and other substance abuse, strategies for avoiding and identifying unhealthy relationships. And some of those topics are pre-taught and post-taught outside of this 3 hours.
Thank you. That clarifies things for me. Thank you very much. The second question I have, so this is during physical education class?
9th grade physical dimensions. So it's a PE health course combined.
So I know there's ways that students can take other courses and not have to take this class. ROTC for 2 years, for example, I think is one avenue to do that.
You are correct.
And so I wonder if there's a way to get those students this material.
You know, one of the topics that's come up from students actually are the life skills course. And so as we're looking at courses, you know, in life skills, really this touches on life skills. Life skills can also touch on other types of life skills young people need to move forward. And so, you know, the wonderful thing about having a partner is that a partner can be embedded in the ways that the schedule allows as she has met with each of the individual principals. Additionally, the nice thing about the online portion of the curriculum is that that can be fit into really any course that we choose to add it to, but life skills is a course that we can easily add to any schedule to ensure that young people have a specific area that we know they've all left school with.
I think that's great. I just want to make certain that we don't let those holes slip through and so our kids get exposed to something. Thank you.
Dr. McCarthy.
Hello.
You, and thank you for coming. And I can say that we've just been thrilled to partner with you and to update our curriculum. It's been a long time goal of this board to bring our sex ed curriculum into the 21st century, and really pleased with what administration brought forward and being able to follow the national standards. One thing I hope parents become aware of as they kind of think through how this is different from what we have done in the past. So typically, sex ed might have been delivered in the Topeka High Gymnasium on a hazy, screen with probably 80 kids sitting around. Okay, how many kids do you think were actually engaged and paying attention, right? You think they heard anything? So the name of this program, Let's Talk, kind of says it all. This is the essence of best practices, that we know that when kids really engage with the material, when it's delivered in that interactive way, we can begin to get kids comfortable with talking about these sensitive topics. That is our strongest chance to keep them healthy and prevent pregnancy and help them also learn it's okay to talk to an adult about that. And that opens up that communication with parents and families, which is so crucial. So I particularly like the format that you've settled on. Specific questions. Just from your personal observation, what could you share some stories of what it's been like and how you find teenagers react to it? I'm sure there is all kind of myth busting that you do.
Yes, that's my main
That's
job.
scary. So if you could just maybe give a few anecdotes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think covering anatomy and helping people understand what body parts there are, various myths about how pregnancy might happen. We are constantly educating around that. One of our favorite activities, we have a box called the mystery box, and it's just a box with different kinds of contraception inside. And we have not been in a class yet where people aren't willing to play. And we go around and they pull something out, and then they have to guess what it is. And if they don't know, we still, we take it. That's why the experts are here. But we go through and talk about the methods. We put a chart, like a cheat sheet, up on the board that kind of talks about these are the methods that often don't work. These are the methods that tend to work really well. And then go through kind of the pros and cons of all of those and the statistics for how often they fail or are successful for people. And I think that they learn a lot, and a lot of people had no idea that there was multiple methods that people could use. So that's a lot of fun. Trying to think of what else. We also have an anonymous texting service that we manage called Let's Text. That's part of our nonprofit organization, a foundation out of Wichita sponsored that and helped us launch. I have cards for that I can show you. But essentially, it's a phone number that anyone can text. when we get a text from this, or to this number, we don't actually have any identifiable information about the phone number that it came from. So we don't know the name or the phone number or the identity of the person that texts in. And then we can answer whatever the question is, and it goes back to the server and goes back to the phone of who sent it in. And we launched this program in October in the classes that we supported in Lawrence Public Schools. And from October to January, we've responded to 1,500 messages from students, often answering those, just what does this mean? But even sometimes like relationship questions about feeling jealous and not knowing if that's normal, and being able to connect young people with really good articles from different national organizations about relationships, or just whatever it is that they might need. Even a suicide prevention hotline number that we sent to a student who texted in who was having a really terrible day. And so I do think that it is a really good way of not only we're in the classroom busting myths and sharing good information, but a way that they can continue to be in contact with us if they need to, in a way that respects the fact that young people generally need that confidentiality or need that anonymity in order to be willing to ask questions. And so, I'll share those cards with you. We're planning on sharing those with students as we meet them in Topeka Public Schools. Yeah.
After practicing medicine for 31 years and delivering 5,000 babies and taking care of some of the people that you're educating now, I feel very strongly that these kids need to know about exactly what you're talking about. So when you're doing your lecture and interaction, how big is the class that you're?
So it varies. Like the class we were in today at Hope Street was, I think, maybe 7 students. But we've had classes as big as 50, sometimes maybe 60, because occasionally some schools will have 2 sections running simultaneously. Sometimes we split it up, or sometimes we just co-facilitate. And so we can handle it either way. On Saturday, I'll actually be at a conference in Olathe for kids who are in foster care through KBC, and that's going to be a 100 plus, we'll see, student or young people between the ages of 15 and 18 that I'll be facilitating presentations with. And so we're flexible, though generally keeping the numbers around 30 allows for that engagement and interaction that is much more personable and helpful. Though when it is assembly style, usually you can have people volunteer and actually engage them in activities that other people can appreciate. And the really nice thing about teaching sex education to teenagers is that engagement really isn't an issue. They are interested, they pay attention, they are ready to hear what it is that they're going to learn, and they tend to ask their questions.
I will agree with that, but I do know, have seen many kids that know nothing about what they're entering into. And so, it is very important that you teach. It's very important that the kids have the ability to ask questions and to get feedback. And when I first came on the board, and it's not been that long ago, I feel like we've taken our sexual education level a lot higher. I mean, I remember watching films from, it looked like 1960s, maybe the films that well, something like that, that I saw. So it is, we need to offer our kids so that they can protect themselves. I mean, it's scary out there, really is.
Right, and reading the research, I do think that there is a fear sometimes that parents or community members or elected officials have that if we talk about these things with students, then they're going to go out and engage in risky behaviors. But all of the good scientific research on this issue shows us otherwise. That conversation, information, those are the tools to combat sexual assault, those are the tools to combat unintended pregnancy, those are the tools that we need in order to solve this problem. And so it's really about being comfortable and being willing to have conversations, and for that I'm so grateful for the opportunity to help.
Yes, and we appreciate that. This feels like this is taking this to a new level, and I think it's a level that we need. Ms. Johnson, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Ms. Sandberg. I appreciate you being here on today. I think as I just read through the letter, and one of the things, I have been one that kind of approaches this a lot more cautiously, partly because I realize that our parents are in partnership with us as a district,
Right.
and so there are certain things that I want them to know that their children are being exposed to before we would do something like that. So I'm appreciating the walkthrough that we're going through as we try to address the issue and make sure our children are informed, but also hold sacredly the trust that we have from parents and our community. And so each of us represents a community of people that when we go back, these are the things that we're asked about. And so what we all know about sexuality is not just mechanics. There is also a moral piece to sexual behavior. There just is. And so that being considered, I'm appreciative of making sure our parents are in that loop early on and ahead of time. And so that's why, as I looked at this letter, I just want confirmation, mainly from administration. This is the letter that's already went out to parents. Is that what we're saying, or is it going to go out?
It is a letter that has gone out at the schools where we have started with parent signatures.
Sorry, one more time.
With an opt-out.
Opt-out opportunities for parents as well. Okay, and then, so we've already started this, even though it was mid-year, we didn't wait till like an actual.
Ms. Sandberg has met with all of the high school principals, all 5 of them, and the format it takes looks a little bit different at each school with their scheduling and and class size and that sort of thing. But she has arranged and met with and scheduled this with all 5 principals. And today was just the first launch at Hope Street.
And Principal Knoll did send that letter home prior to our visit today.
Okay, and sent the letter home. Okay, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way we know that a parent, because we're talking about high school students, not children, high school young people, and even though they can opt in or out, what they want to opt in or out of, we're hoping that we're making the connect. We need to make sure that parent on the other end really knows this is happening in the class.
We actually had Highland Park scheduled this week, and as I just checked and double-checked, we are rescheduling that one because this had not gone home in enough time to allow parents to respond. So we are being very cognizant and aware that this is going home in a sufficient amount of time for parents to reply.
How is it being sent home?
Via students.
In
Let me
addition,
rethink that, because I would never get anything from my student.
and so,
I think we need to send it to a parent electronically.
absolutely, and the other piece with that, so, of course, Hope Street is small, so you're talking 6 students, or in her session for Hope Street. Next week is the parent conference time, which is perfect timing for all of us. And so with this material, not only being able to see, the general letter in that regard, but any other additional information that parents will want to know. One of the other parts of the well-being section that we wanted to share a little bit with you was a symposium. And with that symposium, we, on Monday, will be giving another kind of a special edition community news. And it really is just about the symposium, safety in light of matters most recently, and certainly the piece of, and that does go out electronically, and then certainly the piece about our well-being, and well-being being the symposium, but well-being being this topic that we're talking about this evening. We can certainly easily attach this piece as well, but really saying, here's what we're doing, here's who Let's Talk is, here's their website, which is why we pulled the website up. So that'll be in the Monday special edition. In addition to the website, just here's a little bit more information. If you would like more information before you choose to, opt out or participate, here's where you get that. I just think with parent conference coming up, it just seems like a logical next step to use that time. And with the Monday well-being push from our community news. So that's going to do symposium, but it'll talk about well-being. And it's why we called it well-being on this agenda, because that's what you're going to see coming out on Monday in that special edition community news. We'll be talking about well-being next month as well. We'll touch on it very briefly here, but in the interest of your time, bullying and the materials that we've received we've shared a little bit of information with you on bullying and cyberbullying and social media. Those are new materials as well and new training that we're doing with all of our counselors. But we're going to bring that under well-being again for next month. But we want you also to know that that training is also underway as it relates to that. So Let's Talk will be mentioned in the Monday electronic community news edition. It also will be shared with parents at parent conference. This opt-out information will be shared at that time and their website will be provided. If there is additional information that you also would like to have about Let's Talk before proceeding with other high schools, please do let us know. In the meantime, principals have begun to set the schedule up just because we do want to begin to complement the online curriculum that we already have with consistent information that is age appropriate for high school. Thank you again so much, Ms. Sanborn, for coming and for all that you're doing with Topeka Public Schools. Please. Thank you. And very good meeting you as well. With that, as we rounded off our well-being piece, I want to mention two pieces, but again, well-being will come back next month, and we'll go more in depth on the bullying curriculum portions of that. And I believe you just saw the text phone feature, and I'll mention a couple of pieces. And Mrs. Kruger, if there are items that you want to add to, feel free. But again, next month when we bring this back up, we actually are going through a process of making sure that we're training all of our K-12 counselors with the Outlay bullying prevention materials. It's something that they had perhaps a decade or more ago, and but with new principals, new counselors, and just with the last decade of materials being updated, Outlay now has a suicide prevention curriculum as well, which is a new piece. And so in surveying our counselors, this is a piece that we feel is needed at this time to retrain all counselors K-12, so that previously elementary was the focus of Outlay, and perhaps some middle school, but now K-12, all counselors will receive that training. Again, we'll talk more about that next month. We do want to mention, however, that Ms. Kruger, and the text feature that we now have, we have had an anonymous text feature where young people can text in information, much like what's shared here about the Let's Talk presentation. We have that feature as well, while reports can be made regarding bullying, harassment. It can be done anonymously, not anonymously. That feature was there, but not really going to any particular source. It now goes directly to central office, and Mrs. Kruger receives those incident reports or those matters and gets those to the right authority. I will ask Chief Brown to come to the microphone, as there is an additional feature which he has been receiving text messages and addressing items promptly, and that is through Crime Stoppers, and so they have a text feature as well. I will go ahead and ask for Chief Brown to share a small bit or to be available to answer questions as it relates to safety and or the text feature that you have in light of information from yesterday, or in light of the tragedy from yesterday. Chief Brown, I did mention Crime Stoppers. I did say that correctly,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And so with both of those, as we look at bullying, harassment, all of those issues, again, that'll be a larger presentation next month. But are there any questions as it relates to safety or bullying related matters under this well-being topic that you'd like to ask before we conclude this portion?
I just want to ask, how is this information given to the students? How do they know the tip line or whatever it is there?
Okay, and Mr. President, we have worked with Crime Stoppers for a number of years, and we have what's called Trojan Watch, Charger Watch, and Scott Watch at each of the schools. There is a text that can go through Crime Stoppers. When those texts are received from Crime Stoppers, I then get a call from the local Crime Stoppers person here in Topeka, which is Jerry Cole, and she will contact me if it's related to one of the schools. Recently, we did receive a call from them. It was a fairly minor event where we had some students at a school they didn't belong at. So someone used the text line, gave us the information. We went to the school and did in fact find those students there that did not belong at that school and returned them to the school they belonged to. During the time that Doug Searcy was in charge of the program prior to Jerry, and Jerry has said she will continue that, they will provide rewards for any student who provides information that we deem to be significant. So it could be even something rather minor, and maybe they will get a gift card or something like that. All of that's done anonymously. So the intent is that you can feel very comfortable texting any information that you want, and no one will ever find out that you provided that information. And so we hope that in conjunction with our Topeka Public Schools Reports of Crime program, will help solicit information in one of these critical periods, and that we never have a situation like we saw yesterday in Broward County.
A reminder of that is included in the Monday special edition that's going out under the Wellbeing Community News.
Dr. McCarthy.
Ron, how often would you say that our school resource officers kind of field the complaints from students about bullying, or maybe witness it themselves? You know, one of our hopes with that program, the SRO program, is that as the officers develop relationships with students in the school community, that somehow that becomes another avenue for students to seek help if that's happening. So, you know, could you give us some feedback on how often that happens?
I think still that most students feel more comfortable with the school staff than going to the police officers directly. However, we become indirectly involved when the staff members contact us, and that happens, I would say, on occasion. I can't give you an exact number. And we do go to elementary schools. We have officers, day shift patrol officers that go to elementary schools. Normally Jeremy Lightoff, who does an amazing job with the young children, to talk to them about the consequences of that. But almost all of those go through the staff first before we get involved with them. In the middle schools, I think with the Topeka Police SROs, probably a little bit more. I'd have to talk with them specifically and talk with Ron Ekus about specific concerns, because they are so good at just handling those events that normally they don't necessarily call me to give input. They've been in those schools for a period of time and do a very good job there. But I would still venture to say even there, the majority of those are going through the staff before they go to the officers.
Excuse me. I'm still unclear as to how we get our students to use these text opportunities. How are we getting the messages to them that you can text? It is anonymous, but you can give. How often are we reminding them to let us know you're our eyes, you're the ones that help keep us safe? I mean, that it became obvious after what happened in Florida.
Sure.
That people knew things were going on, and somehow that just never got anyplace. So I guess I'm asking. That's my
Sure. No, you make perfect sense. So I think honestly, we can do a better job. We have posters in the schools, but I think we can do a better job of getting that message out, and we will do that. We do have posters available, so when they're walking down the hall, they're made aware of that. Again, we've seen some usage, but I think we would like to see more usage of that. My contention too is that we have pretty good relationships with students. Our officers work very hard to create relationships with students. And so as a result of that, I think too that they get information from students from time to time, and we get information from staff. I think our staff does a very good job of talking with students and then relaying information to the officers that we then check into. We also have the ability to monitor social media, which is very important. because that's how kids talk nowadays. And so we work to do that. One of the challenges I have is to make sure that we're spending that time focused on that social media so that we don't miss an obvious posting of some sort with regard to a student, and when we get those postings that we're checking into them. So I would say that the posters are out there with regard to the texting, but we can do a better job of promoting that program, and we will do that.
In addition to that, on our Twitter page, we have pushed this out on Twitter, which a lot of our students now follow us on Twitter, which is fantastic. Today we sent out an email, and Meg Brown sent the link to how to talk to students about violence and safety and bullying. So part of doing the bully prevention training and the suicide prevention training is to empower our staff. So we're asking really all of our principals at the conclusion of this training, and certainly at the end of this month, to really have time in the classroom to be able to have teachers share, whether it's during first hour or during the counseling lesson at the elementary, but every student knowing here are the resources that you have available. So that literally telling students and being intentional about everybody's telling students by blank date in first hour or in your life skills class. So that Twitter, social media, the posters, I just think, but that has to be ongoing. It's not like we say, oh, we've done it. That's a piece that we feel like if we train folks on how to have the dialogue and what to say, then asking that that's an ongoing piece when young people are in class, that it's part of the work that we do. So verbally is the new piece that we want to make sure that's being done from teachers as well as administrators, assemblies and in class. Thank you, Chief Brown.
All right, thank you very much.
Under well-being, those are the topics for this month. As the budget calendar is prepared to be discussed by Ms. Mansfield and Mr. Minke, we will turn it over to them and remind you that we shared that a principal will be coming each month, so the next month to talk about interventions and how we're working with all students. And so we'll be having a principal as the speaker for that. But with today's list of items, we didn't invite one for this meeting.
Good evening, board. Here we are again, budget time to set our process for FY 2019. Gary is distributing the proposed budget process to you in paper form, and we also have it on the big screen here. And the way this all works, we all work as a team here at 501. After, of course, we have some assumptions and decisions made by leadership. We process budget worksheets that go out to the different managers and building leaders for their different responsibilities for their section of the budget. It's a lot of paper that goes out. And the way that works is every single account strip, which is the budget detailed line by line, goes out by really by the center number, and center number kind of refers to mostly buildings and different areas in the budget, and that's kind of how it's organized. Get that out to the different responsibility leaders, and they have the opportunity to work through their budgets, and they will actually get that by the 1st of March. Actually, March 2nd is the target date to have that out to them. They go through and go through their budget. What happens on the budget, when they get that worksheet, it compares it to the budget we have currently. So they work with the numbers and actually get that back to me. We have targeted March 12th through 30th, which sandwiches in spring break. So I'll have some free time there in the middle to hopefully get that all input. And once that is all, that's a long process too, because it's, like I said, line by line that we actually build the budget. And after, of course, we we hear back from our legislatures on any changes. We take that budget information and then we have to compile it into a state document. And that state document is what we actually have to adjust the budget dollars to, and we make decisions to, dependent upon what the funding levels will be for FY 2019 at that time. So it's a pretty drawn out process, but it's a team effort. And like I said, the responsible leaders for their center or function areas, they have opportunity to, adjust their budgets accordingly, and it feeds into the final budget document. Looking forward to getting that started. I am very optimistic that I'm going to have a head start this year. So I think things we've made some adjustments, and I'm really looking forward to a smooth process this year. Do you have any questions regarding, and one improvement I've made already is it's a one-pager for you. So we saved.
Chronological.
Yes. I made edits earlier and they weren't quite in chronological order, and I did make that change so it's easier to read and the flow is a lot smoother. Because we make changes from year to year, and there are some things we juggled some of the process around this year to accommodate some of the changes that we made this year so far.
Questions? Mr. Woods?
Thank you, Mr. President. Quick question. So I guess, I'm no longer on the committee, but I'm just curious as of the process. So I take it the Budget and Finance Committee will be periodically looking over the budget's development.
This is definitely a living document.
Yeah.
and we did have the council, budget council, look over the proposed calendar yesterday. And I did make a couple changes, so yes, it's already changed from yesterday.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, it's a very, very big project, and it always is ongoing. So we really do appreciate you guys doing this. It's I'm pretty good with numbers, but I can't imagine what you have to do.
And a lot of it, we get so much help from the building leaders, and it's not just all on one person's shoulder. So it's a huge team effort, and everyone really takes their role and plays a part in it. And I appreciate everyone's assistance in getting it accomplished in a timely manner.
Yeah, absolutely a team.
Just a side comment. I made it to the meeting the other day, and they announced to us that they'd passed the Irs audit with flying colors. And it was huge. You tell the rest of the folks here how many pieces, things that had to be looked at that you shared. It's mind-boggling what they had to put together.
Well, we had it was actually, Gary was contacted by the IRS. It was a huge, large audit that the district we had to go through. It was actually mapped out to take about a year for the process to just flow through all of the different tests that the IRS has to make sure that we are in compliance with, FICA and federal withholding. And not only do they look at the W-2s, but they also looked at our 1099, miscellaneous, and retirement fiscal forms, year-end forms that feed into Social Security. And after looking at everything, it was, say, about a 10-page document, at least, that we had to fill out prior to, it was Allison Jones was the agent that came out, and she was in charge of the audit here for the district. We had to upload a bunch of information on a jump drive for her. And she works out of the Wichita office, and she was in direct communication with Gary. I know that she called him a few times, but she just had that one visit, and we were very prompt in, addressing any of her needs and information that she needed. And after looking at all the data, and in the phone call, she actually said she looked at all the W-2s. There's over 3,000. So that was quite a job for her. She came to the determination that we would receive a 3351 notice of no change. So that was really, really nice to hear. Not only that, we have J1 visa teachers and their strict rules about Social Security and, addressing their W-2s as resident aliens or, the J1 visa exception. And she didn't find anything there. And we just tried to really, monitor our compliance. And we're constantly, making sure that we update information as it comes available. For instance, this year, 2018, I had to go back in and change the tax tables for this year, 2018. So it's just something we just have to monitor, and we're just happy that we're on the right path, and we just continue to do our best to, make sure that we're doing what we need to do for the employees here and for our vendors, and making sure we do our due diligence and doing what needs to be done for the district.
Well, it was a big enough job that they were both glad they won't be around when the next one comes. It's huge. They did a wonderful job. And as a team, as you said, we hear all these things. We hear all the numbers, and I'm always blown away with how complicated all of this stuff is. We get the simple stuff up here, and it's amazing to me. So her team, Gary's team, all the people working for Shauna, they did a marvelous job.
Yes, and we do have a wonderful team down in the business office, and Gary and I are very thankful to have the team that we have, because they are the ones really behind the work, and they do a great job every day.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you both very much.
And I think Laura asked me to just make a few comments. And I'm thankful as well for our team, because I don't understand any of this stuff really most of the time. What we got pulled up here and what I'm going to share with you, Shanette's going to kick off work on that 2019 budget, but I thought I'd just kind of give you a snapshot of where we are right now. We're about 2/3 of the way into the school year, and so that makes us 2 years, or 2/3 of the way into the funding year. So I found this in my desk drawer, so I thought I'd bring it tonight and use it, but it didn't work. We're going to go kind of clockwise around that form. And I would remind you that this document is updated by Kansas Department of Ed. It is on ksde.org under the Policy and Funding tab. You can go out and look at it. Under Policy and Funding, the payment information, it'll pull that up. It's a simple spreadsheet. You just draw down USD 501 or any district you want to look at. And if you're a data hound, you can get in there and look at the numbers every month as they're updated. I'll tell you that at this point, we've received about 56% of our general state aid funding. You can see through February, the payments made were about $48.4 million. The balance of those payments will be made on a percentage basis. It's a remaining percentage of the balance through March, April, May, June, and then we'll get that final payment, which is usually around $3 or $4 million on July 5th, or between the 5th and the 7th. We'll get that final state aid payment. Same goes for our supplemental state aid. This year we're looking at supplemental LOB state aid of about $20.2 million. We've received payments of $16.2 million. We have a balance of our entitlement of about $4 million. The final two payments will be one in June, towards the tail end of June, and then again, our final LOE payment for the fiscal year 18 will be made around July 5th or 7th. Capital outlay, we received our capital outlay state aid payment actually today. It was $2,678,087, and that came in today, so thank you, state. Bond and interest, we've received both of our bond and interest payments of state aid, $4 million. So our state aid is flowing in at a rate that's very comparable to our spending. So that's good news. The cash coming in is paired up with the cash going out, so we like to see that. Just kind of a reminder on the general state aid, the portions of our general state aid dollars and our LOB dollars, fairly large portions of those dollars are transferred into the weighted funds, the bilingual, voc ed, at risk, special ed, and virtual. Out of that general fund, we transfer about 28.3% of that general fund state aid into those weighted funds, with a big portion of that going to special ed, voc ed, and at risk. And our LOB fund, it's even a stronger percentage. About 76% of our LOB is transferred into those weighted or special revenue funds, bilingual, special ed, career to tech ed, at risk. So about 25.6 million of our 33.6 million LOB is transferred into those program funds, what I would call them. So that's the front page, and that's what I call the dollars page, and on the back is the data page. The second page is data, and it's got enrollment information, it's got pupils per certified employee ratios, our mill levies are on there. Just as a reminder, for the previous 2 years, and then the current year, we're at 50.71 mills, just slightly under last year, as a reminder. At the very bottom of the page are CAPER state aid payments, which we recognize them as the employer portion. We've received 3 of the 4 payments that we're entitled to this year, so that's good news. So I feel confident that in April we'll get that 4th payment. So that's a positive turn of events to a couple of years ago when we didn't get that 4th payment, because that can happen. The other kind of in the middle is budget and state aid per pupil. We're at $4,006 a year. You'll see if you look at our state aid numbers, budget versus actual general state aid, those numbers are a little higher, and that's just a good reminder that a lot of our state aid is weighting. So about 46% of our per FTE is due to those special ed, at risk. Yes, sir.
So if I may, you actually raised a point I find pretty interesting, Gary, when I think about, Mr. Mickey, when I think about this. So I can look at this data and we all know it, but the state, they have prorated our LOB for a long time, right? It's not been at the 81.2 percentile for what? 7 or 8 years maybe? Something like that. And so that is what they passed in statute. It's what they require, the statute requires. But their direction, unofficially, by not funding it fully and then giving direction to the State Department of Education to prorate it at, I think, is it at 75, the 75th percentile right now?
Yeah.
Something like that. So I asked that question just because I think about the kind of what I would consider maybe was somewhat of a vicious attack a few weeks ago on our deputy commissioner at the State Department of Education for school finance.
The transportation issue.
For not, for doing what they didn't, they didn't tell him to follow the letter of the law. They gave him guidance on how to implement to meet the spirit of it. He did that. In that case, they attacked because that was too much money, so they said. In this case, where they've underfunded it by millions and millions and millions over the years, there is no uproar or there's no outcry. I haven't heard. I don't know. Is that's a fair comparison, right?
And one that I'm sure Mr. Dennis has probably made.
I'm sure. Probably the editorial comment, I guess you don't have to answer that,
Yeah,
but it just made me think
I'll
of
just
that.
get myself in trouble.
When I looked at that, so.
You're right. And that's kind of an ongoing. That will be a big part of this session's finance funding formula talks.
So I mean, we're authorized base day per pupil at $4,006, right?
Yes. For FY18.
But we are funding what? Are they actually funding fully? But they're still using the inflated number for the LOB calculation,
That's
right?
correct.
4492 or 4433 or whatever it was.
49, I think. 4449, I think.
There you go.
Yeah.
So,
right.
In effect, giving authority and actually kind of forcing the hand of districts to levy more from the local level than they normally would and receive less from the state. So kind of pushing the burden down to the locals.
The LOB's important.
Yep, which I get it.
The LOB's important.
I get it. It's an interesting situation. I know, well, this is not a discussion about legislation, but you just made me think about that, and everybody, our patrons, know what an LOB is.
Right.
Get interested in that. So thank you very much.
You bet. Yeah, and it is a big portion of what we do when you look at what we transfer out of there, again, like into those weighted funds for our special ed students, our at-risk students, our bilingual students. It's a big portion of that support. So that's kind of where we're at, 2/3 of the way through. And we just appreciate the board's support for us. And other than that, we're getting ready to wrap up our 2017 audit, our regular physical audit for KSDE and our single audit. So we'll move forward into FY19. I'm not as optimistic as Shawnette on how quickly we'll move forward with this budget with the legislative process this spring, so we'll see. Thank you.
Anything else for Mr. Major? Thanks again.
Yep.
So moving forward to board comments, and I am going to, this is from Reverend Williams, who is on Living the Dream, Inc. And they have a project going that's called Stock the Shelves. Collection dates, February 15th to March 1st. Food items, they're partnering with Topeka Public Schools. Food items can be dropped off at any district building. There are canned goods to benefit the Topeka Public Schools food pantry and the exchange, and Washburn's on-campus food bank. So, all you out there, all us in here, you can drop food items, canned food items at any district school, and Living the Dream Inc. will use those. So, Dr. Mickelson.
Just briefly, I'd like to commend Dr. Anderson and her team for putting this presentation on overall health and well-being together. I know it didn't happen overnight, and since the events tragedy yesterday, but I like the holistic approach to sexual health, relationship health, suicide prevention, mental health, the bullying piece, the ability to report issues as they come about, anonymously or not. So just kudos to you and your team for addressing these proactively as we try to keep our district and our students safe. So thank you very much.
Actually, I was just brainstorming as we had all the presentations that I heard several times how we get this to students and families. But I'm thinking, don't we have some whole school assemblies throughout the year? Are there any that we do on a regular basis, or is that dictated by each school? We have the attendance assemblies pretty much at most of the elementary schools and other schools. Most of them have some monthly kind of event. And then the counselors are now doing lessons within the classrooms as well, using Second Step, which is a portion of our curriculum. So we're asking verbally that these trainings that we're giving, that they are empowering our counselors and staff to give lessons on these topics themselves through those various ways. Assembly, but also a small classroom piece is ideal as well for conversation purposes.
And definitely, as we try to just take every opportunity that we get to meet with all of our stakeholders, but that parent piece, I'm always trying to figure out how do we get to that. And even as we did the parental engagement committee for the Equity Council, we had this discussion, how do we do a two-way connection here, that they're reaching in, but then we're reaching out.
Definitely.
To really create engagement.
And we'll keep that in mind. We did create webinars on bullying, loss, grief, suicide. That's now posted. That's all within the last week. We're partnering with Dr. Alfie as well, who'll be at the session. So at the bottom of even the Undercover High series are the various webinars, which we now have downloaded. So that's a video piece. We trust this symposium is really just a start. We did give, with the cooperation of YWCA, sex trafficking presentation of families at Topeka High. So when we, unveil this parent engagement center, really the vision is that we would have ongoing educational sessions for families. I mean, that's ideal. The symposium is just yet another example of what that can look like, and we anticipate that'll be annual. But beyond that, all of these topics we're talking about, we really want to be educating the broader community, whether they're families or just community members. But thank you for mentioning that.
Well, I'd just say thank you for all that we're doing for mental health and everything that we're pulling together. I think it's been a really strong response and necessary, and I'm eager to see it continue. Thanks.
Mr. Woods. Mrs. Kirk.
When you're sick, you can sit around thinking about things, right? And one of the things that we talked about maybe 3 years ago was a plan for trying to upgrade and improve our middle school sports programs. And then we hit financial problems. And I kind of think we struggle in the area of providing adequate opportunities for our kids at the middle school level in sports. And it shows up later in high school. They just haven't had much opportunity to play very often. So I guess, given the world's changing a little bit, maybe we could resurrect that plan, look at it, and see how we can improve it and make it viable. I was just sitting with somebody the other day, and we said, why can't we just have a Shawnee County middle school league? We've got enough schools in Shawnee County to take care of a whole sports season for whatever it is. And then doesn't mean you can't do other things, but I mean, we're just throwing out all sorts of thoughts about how do we help kids in that area. And it's an important area for our kids. I'm first for academics and not the arts, but I'm sitting around here thinking about all these kids for whom sports is such a critical part of their lives. So it's just a thought for when you're sitting around, nothing else to do.
I would second that. Some former graduates of Topeka Public Schools have talked about their experiences in, at that time, probably junior high or middle school, how their athletic careers, and they didn't go to become NBA players, but helped them go through high school. And I think all kids need that opportunity. To switch to the arts a little bit, I want you to know, I think I've told most everybody, but that I attended the Topeka Symphony assembly of kids. These were kids from all over the county. For our kids, we're from Ross and Eisenhower, and they were given symphonic music, but symphonic music that correlated with Black history. And Mr. Todd Payne, who's an outstanding baritone, gave the Martin Luther King I Dream speech superbly. I mean, if I closed my eyes, I would think that it was Martin Luther King giving that speech. He was just that good. So I think that is such a learning opportunity. I don't know when or where, but the Topeka Symphony Board is willing to work with the kids in the county to give them that opportunity. They would change the time if possible. And I don't know what they're doing next year, but I think it's a very superb opportunity for our kids to learn a different form of music, because they don't always, many of our kids don't get exposed to that. And the current director of the Topeka Symphony is excellent with kids. He has 2 small kids, and he does very good. So I really challenge us, and I can certainly be a liaison with the symphony. So, any other comments? Administration? Okay. I'll take a motion for adjournment. Second? We have a motion and a second.